Hello, my name is Temitope and I am the creative director for QA QA is a community that is passionate towards your learning and development. So on this channel, we upload videos from all our trainings and even other videos in the aspect of software testing and automation. Do well to subscribe to our channel. Now, what are you waiting for? Subscribe. Also watch our videos, like and share. Add your comment too. Thank you for watching. Subscribe now. So for that one you mentioned, we said year, right? So the field year was supposed to be validated, the field month was supposed to be validated, and then day was supposed to be validated. So each component of date of birth was supposed to be validated, was supposed to be checked. That's the essence of component testing, right? So now that you know about component testing, you can factor that into your test case writing. Yesterday we discussed this aspect. I want to quickly go into it before we have just 1 hour. And I gave us an assignment to. Oh, beautiful! It still kept this stuff here yesterday that I worked on. Okay, so we discussed this extensively and we designed a test case document for this application source demo. And I gave us an assignment to also go ahead and write more test cases. Not only that, write fish out bugs in the application, right? And what was the last thing? There are three things: design the test case, write the box, and what? Can anyone remind me of what you're supposed to do for this source demo application? So if I may ask, has anyone started working on this? Were you able to review it after class yesterday? Okay, whatever the case is, I give it to you um, to work on during the week. Please work on it and submit it before Friday close of business. That's like 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. Friday. So yeah, we'll move on to what's the main discussion for today. Sorry, I need to. I have this document here that was published a while ago. Now this is API testing layout. This is actually the way it looks like. So I was talking about GUI. If you are looking at this, you will understand that the first thing you see when you see an application is the GUI, the graphical user interface. Just like the screen that you are looking at in front of you. This web page you are looking at. This web page has images and all of that. So we have what? Graphical user interface. If I'm to test this site, for example, this medium, I will be looking at, oh, what is this? Oh, what is this? Oh, what is it? They all represent something. So we'll call it graphical user interface. It is the part that is presented to the user, that the user get to see, right? So we have graphical testing on presentation layer or on presentation layer. So there's presentation layer called the GUI part. Then we also have the business layer part and of course API testing. This is where it actually takes place. Just behind the scene, behind the graphical, behind the GUI, right? We call it what? The application user interface. Then as for the database layer, it's the one that is backing the application UI. All right, just behind the layer of the application UI, we have what? The database. The database is the power, it is the data powerhouse that controls the entire application. Now, talking about API, it's a set of rules. You know what protocol is? Like rules. You know what procedure is? Rules that is strategically or standardized way, in a kind of way, we call it procedure. And then routines that are consistently being performed, right? A set of protocols that we use for building our software application, right? So in a simple word, API stands for Application Programming Interface, and it acts as an interface between two software applications and allows the two software applications to communicate with each other. All right. So we are looking at this API. The funny thing about what's the name APIs is that you can have as many GUI layers on this, as many as possible, right? So beneath this API, you have a lot of softwares connected to it. So in simple words, it is what? Application programming interface. Let's continue. What are the examples of APIs that we can relate with? A Google website can have API for various functions like search, translation, calendars, etc. In general, APIs are like below URL, okay? Okay, I think I put a URL here. All right. So your normal URL that you see every day, uh, they are what? Application interface. All right. The fact that you see http medium.com/ and then you have something in front of it. All right. This is saying that the interface I am currently reading is what? API testing. The interface I'm currently reading is what? API testing. All right. So it is as simple as a simple URL. Your API, that is your application interface, is as simple as your simple URL. All right. Okay, let's continue. There are mainly four methods in API. There are more than four methods actually, but every day as a software tester, you get to use at least four methods, all right, to test your APIs, to check that website. Oh, is this part going? Is login going? Is change password going? Is this one going? Is that one going? So each time, in fact, let me show you. Each time you get to our search demo app is this, right? I'm not sure if this was built with API, but let's check it out. So this is my normal URL, and then I have my password. Okay. I would have explained with that project, but right now the server is down. It's not coming up. I don't know what exactly is happening. This is the project. It's currently not coming up. So I will leave that as it is. Where am I right now? Okay, so I'm here. So we have I was trying to go to here. Yeah. So look at this URL for example. Look at this URL for example. This is the base URL. When I'm talking about base URL, I'm saying the interface where the application itself sits upon, the server hosting the resource, all right, is sitting on the base URL. So the base URL is what is connected directly to the server or wherever this application has been uploaded to before you actually get to see it. But when you now see maybe another resource right in front of it, I'm trying to come as simple as possible so that you don't get confused. I mean, to make it as simple as possible so that you don't get confused. When you now see another resource right in front of it, it is an interface. It represents the application's own interface. That is, source demo interface right now here is what? Inventory. So we're on the inventory page, we're on inventory API right now. Now, let me continue with this document here. We have, see the simple explanation. The first part of your URL, okay, is sitting right on the server. We have what? The server name. And then probably it's a version 2 or a version 3. That's not a problem. Then you have the interfaces connected to it. All right. The resource you are trying to access itself is probably just what? Probably just this. Okay. So this is what we are trying to access in this URL, a CSV format of a report. But before we see this CSV format of a report, we have to first get to the server and then get to the export resource and then get to the publisher before we eventually, it's just like your file directory system. All right, you know the way your Windows application work, you have a folder called files or something. I think every OS has files. So in your files you have probably some folders inside, and in that same folder you have some other folders, and maybe in that folder again you have files and all of that. For you to access the file you actually want to access, you have to go down to files, to files, files directory, and then go to the folder and then the next folder, and then before you are able to see the files. That is exactly the way it works with application interfaces. So we said there are mainly 4 methods involved in API testing. Like I said, get, post, put, and delete. They are the popular ones. For this project, you will also be, be working on get, put, and post, put, and delete. Right? So we said we want to get a resource. The get method is used to extract information from the given server using a given URI. Alright, can someone tell me the full meaning of URI? Anyone? Oh yeah, I'm listening now. Anyone? No one? No one knows what URI is. Hey. What of URL? Hey.
URL is Uniform Resource Locator.
Okay, so what is URI?
Uniform Resource Interface.
Hey. Okay, you try. It's an identifier. All right. URI is Uniform Resource Identifier. The locator, which is the URL that I mentioned the other time, is saying exactly where it is located. All right. So we call it Uniform Resource Locator. But for every URL, there is a what? A URI. All right. This is Web 2.0 or something, or 0.2. I mean, it's an ancient this thing. Please try to read it up. Try to know what all of this stands for. Okay. Right. So yeah, let me just continue. So where did I stop? I said get. Get is used for getting a resource to extract data. All right. And what is post used for? Post is the opposite. It's used for creating a resource, a new entity. Actually, the word new is important when it comes to post. So you are creating something new that is not yet in the server. That is not yet in the server. All right. So it is new entirely. But for get, it exists already in the server, and all you are doing is to extract this resource from what? From the server. So we have put. Put is saying create a new entity or update an existing one. All right. So we are saying put. When it comes to put, it's just like saying the record of students already exists, right? And every student has a unique ID. So if there are 50 students that exist and all of them have unique ID, and I want to add one more student, what do? I can just put and create a new ID, add it to the existing student already in the server. So I am creating a new entity just to update what is existing there before. Or I can just decide to say, okay, this student exists, however, it does not have certain important information they need to have. So what do? I update the student's information. The student is already there with, you know, register courses, but now I'm probably trying to now add more data to whatever is existing there. All right, that is put. But post is creating an entirely new data, entirely new, right? So now we have delete. Delete is just delete, means remove all current representation and all of that. So what do we have? We have get, post, put, and delete. So how does an API work? I think I explained. I say you have your application that you can see, all right, and or you send a request. Don't let me explain this yet. Let's continue with this. So API testing requires an application to interact with API. To test an API, you require two things. You have your testing tool, right? And then you write the codes. But I'm not touching on codes today. So steps for testing your API. What are the the steps? So as let me just put it. Please download Postman. Please download Postman. So you will be using this image you see here is a Postman. So we are not doing any testing today, it's just to explain. But you go home and download it and see the way it looks like, right? So this image here is a Postman diagram. Why can't I pick this image? Okay, but this one is not zooming at all. Okay, I think that might be a problem. Okay, let me click on this. So this is how it looks like normally. So there is a place where you will enter your what? Your URL. All right. We said that this is a locator, and in testing we call it the base URL. Your base URL is where your resource is located in the server, which is also called the URL. All right. So you will put your base URL. There is an open place where you what? You input it. Now, as you can see something, see get. So here there is a drop down here that lists all the methods you can ever find for API testing. So let me see. All right. So there is something called I don't know what scratchpad is. What? Which one is this? Okay, forget about that. Looking like I'm in a different workspace. Okay, I'm not signed in. Let me just explain. So we have something like this is where you enter your base URL. Any URL, base URL, you put it in here. Now this is where you put all your methods. You have, that you select your method. Is it method get you want to do that? Is get the resource, retrieve the resource from the server. And when you say post, you're saying create this resource into the server. That's the simplest explanation. Then when you're saying put, you're saying okay, add to an existing information, even though it is not add. That was why I used the example of student the other time. I said, okay, all the students already exist, they have something unique to them, but then you want to add this student that, of course, is a student but does not have maybe an ID or whatever. Then you try to do or to put that student. But there is also add, if I am correct. Okay, there's no add. And okay, there is patch, which is more like add. Anyway, patch is like modify a resource. All right, modify a resource that already exists. Then delete is delete, remove, and all of that. So the most common ones are the ones we already discussed, as you can see, right? So this is where your base URL does what goes to. And we have a button here. This button is, of course, is we call it send. It means that you are performing an action, whether it is put or post or whatever. All right, this is what communicates. This is the layer that actually communicates with the server resource, and then try to respond back with some data. I don't know how I got this URL, but let me see if this URL exists. Aha. So this URL exists. What I have done right now is I clicked on get. I selected get. I inputted a URL that exists. Then I click on what? Send. So what did it do? It retrieved all the information that I need for me. All right. That is just a simple get method discussion. Yeah. So we have the first step is to launch the application Postman. When you install it, that's the first thing you do. Then what next? What do you do next? Please sign up on it too. So the next thing is you enter the URL of the API. I already showed you this. You enter your URL. Okay, this part that is selected here is showing the base URL. Every other thing that was entered in front of the base URL is the interface, right? So we also have select the method for the type of HTTP method. Okay, so here of course you select a method. I knew methods are more than this. But I didn't sign up here, so I was wondering how can the methods be just of course the methods are much. We have get, post, put, patch, delete, copy, add, options, link, unlink, lock, quite a number. So you select a method, enter your base URL, select a method. Now the next thing is going to be, what is the resource you actually want to request from the server, and what will it take? Okay, what will it take for the server to respond to your request? Every time you are performing an API test, you are sending a request and receiving a response. You are sending a request and doing what? And receiving a response. Now, we have something that looks like this, which is here. Look at this entire place. You can see params, which is parameter, authorization, headers, body, pre-request script, tests, setting, and so on. Now, what will it take for this request? Because can just anybody go there and retrieve resource? No. The system requires some form of authentication to approve whoever is trying to, retrieve data and all of that. So there is a form of check. So we have what? Authentication. And there are different kinds of authentication. We have header, we have body, we have parameters. All right. Parameter is saying what are the important additions to the request that you need to make, right? So we also have, all right. Let's just continue with the the document here. Now, set the required body key and value, blah blah blah. You don't need this one today. We've talked about you sending it. Okay. So we've talked about you sending it and then getting a response. Sending a request and getting a response. So the summary of the discussion here is that an API, or application programming interface, is a set of programming instructions. Of course, it is instructions now, because now you are saying, okay, for this resource on this server, I want to use method post to create an extra resource, and in the process of me creating this extra resource, I want the server to add so parameters. Not only that, I want the application interface to have this number of headers, or this authorization methods, all right, and then send the request. I want it to send this request, and after sending it the request, I want it to return a response, a feedback to me. So it's a set of communication, a set of programming instructions for accessing web-based software applications. So there are mainly 4 methods involved in API testing: the get, the post, delete, and the put method. We need to check the response code, the response message, the response body in API testing. So let's go back. We've not talked about the response. So I got this base URL somehow, and I say, okay, I want to post. Let me look for something here. There's a post here. Don't even know there's a post here. All right. So there is a post here. You know, we said post is creating a resource, all right, a new resource. So this is a new resource. Afolabi has this. This person has a name attribute. He has a job and is a student. A student who's, is a student who's, is a student with attribute job, all right? Now, so I have posts and I have the request. This is my request body here. Note it. This is what? Request body. Now, see what was selected. This is what we call what? JSON. It's not that difficult. As time goes by, you will understand. So we have the request body. What you need to understand is the logic. When it comes to API testing, what is the logic that is required in testing APIs, right? It's very simple. You need your method, you need your base URL, you need the request that you're going to be requesting, all right? Your request body, all right? Some requests may require some extra parameters that they need to add here. And some requests might decide to take a form of form data. Form data is saying, instead of writing it raw here, why don't I just input it here and say, instead of that, I'll just say name. All right, I'll just say name and then say job. And then in front of name, I will say the value for name is what? Afolabi as this. It's just very simple. So instead of picking it, writing it like this, you can actually select this. It will be doing the same function, right? I pick this and then I say come. So let's imagine that I'm sending it raw. All right, so I'm creating this resource on the server. So what do I do? The next thing is what? To send. Okay, so once you send like that, talking about the response now. When you want to, when you are testing your API, so my test is to check that I can create this new resource on this server here. Is somebody following? So I'm trying to check if I can create this resource on this server here, and by the time you click on send, it must give you what? A response, and that response should satisfy the request that you have sent, right? So the request is saying create this person. Now see, it has created this person, and then of course return the job, return giving it an ID, and then giving dates when it was created. So right, this is a response. Now another thing you have to check for is the response code. All right, response code is talking about HTTP status code. All right, that's what it is talking about. And what are HTTP status code? 200, 300, 201, 404, 505. There are lots of them. 404 and all of that, 401 and all of that. You might have been seeing 404 when you go to a site and the only thing you see on that site is 404. You must have been seeing all of that. And you're wondering what is the meaning of 404. They are all what? HTTP statuses. Please read up on HTTP status. So because when you are testing APIs, you need to be sure of what an HTTP status means, all right? So this one here that you see 201, it means a new resource has been created. That's what 201 is. And when you see 200, it means okay or successful, right? Means that okay, this endpoint is working as expected. So okay, check. But when you are creating a new resource, you have what? 201 created. Now, what of if I come back and I use this this form data I was talking about the other time, another way of sending your request? All right. So, what is it telling me? Okay, it's not giving the right response, Abby. Because why? I already created this guy and it should not exist again. So you just gave me, bam, this thing is already what? Is already created. What if I decide to change the name and say, okay, I'm talking about a new guy here, so create this new guy for me, right? Let's see if this let's see if this endpoint is working as we expect. Whose job is a teacher? Okay, now we are getting, oh, it is created, but we are not getting the response, the same response we got when we used raw. Am I right? So let's do something. Bring back our guy and call this guy teacher. So this time around we are not using this guy. Let's see the response it will give. So play around with it at home just like this. All right, and for you to play around, let me give you this URL. This URL is easy to play around with. I don't even know where I got this URL, but I think I can give you. This is the base URL. I think I can give you that. So this resource has been what created, right? So all of these things are what? It depends on how it has been what? Programmed. Now I'm still bent on this form data. Let's see what else we can do with it. Okay, so there's form data, there's what's the name? Form URL encoded. Just so you know. You can also do the same thing here. Say job, But please go read up on the differences because it's not the same. Okay, so we have so many read ups for you. This one is an engineer. This one is so just imagine the form URL encoded actually created the same way raw actually did what? Created. So raw is what? Form slash JSON or whatever. And this one is what? Form URL encoded. Now form data is a different thing entirely. And then you can also decide to use none. It's possible to post. Is it possible to post the data without? All right. So all of this just depends on the code. Please play around with it. Discuss more on next week Sunday, not Saturday. We will discuss more on API testing. Play around with this. Okay, someone is asking a question. Please ask your question. We're rounding up already. Someone called me.
Yeah,
Oh,
I wanted
continue.
to ask that the data you kept using,
Hmm.
how did you get it?
You mean this raw
The raw
request?
request. Yes.
Okay, that was why I sent that link to you. So if you check that link, you will see that is a URL. All right, let me go there. It is a URL. So, what is this? Okay, just look at it. So this is where the resource has been hosted on request response. That's what we call it, request response. It's a fake site for API testing. Just like the source demo is fake for UI. Okay. So please play around with all these things I give you. This is for UI testing, this is for API testing. Play around with them. And so you see this. I think I got them from here. This is supposed to be a request. If you look at this now, you see slash API slash users blah blah blah. These are the what? The interfaces, the API interfaces. So there is an interface list user, there is an interface single user. All of this that you see down here are what? Interfaces. That's the application interface. All right. So now this is an endpoint called list users. All right. Now if I'm supposed to test list users, I will click on this. Am I clicking on it? Okay, yeah. I will click on list users. Once you click on list users, you see what you are supposed to get as a response. If you are not getting this response, then you are not doing it correctly. Let's check. Let's even check it. So I have list users and they've already given me the request I should pass. If you click on single user, you see that the requests change. If you click on this, see the request, the request, what's the name now? URL. The interface changes. All right. In case you are asking what is the difference between the API and an endpoint, all right? The API and an endpoint, right? Somebody is asking that in their mind, they've not asked yet. Okay, so list users here is an endpoint, all right? Is a what? Is an endpoint. Now, the fact that you see list users and there is a slash users, this shows you that what is an endpoint. There's an endpoint user here. But the entire thing is what is called API. The entire is what? The API. But the endpoint, there's endpoint users. There is endpoint single user. There is endpoint users slash whatever. There is endpoint unknown. There is endpoint unknown slash 2. There is, just let's keep looking at it. Endpoint, another users here. So you see, those ones are what? The endpoints. So please read up on that too. Don't be confused. Let's check these list users. So we have this request that's been given to us. And we already know the base URL. You already said that the base URL is... why can't I copy this? Okay. List users. So if for you to list users, you come here, for you to do a new, to run a new test, you go to your new, and then you click on a new HTTP request. Then I can rename here. Where is it? I created it somewhere. Okay, maybe because I'm not signed in right now. New HTTP request. So I have my base. You already know the base URL. This is the base URL. Yeah, this is the base URL I'm trying to get. All right, and I have an endpoint there that I copied. Look at it. Slash API slash users slash page. Is that what is there? Page, exactly. Equals to slash page equals to, I think it's even here already. Now, this is what they want me to access. They want me to access this resource list user. All right. So when I want to get all the data on what? Users. I want you to list it for me. So when I put it in, just like I've put it in, and then I will send. So then I will check my response. Does my response correspond to what they want to see? This is what they want to see. Just look at it, just see the list. So I'll come back here and check. Yes, it does correspond, right? It does. So that means that I'm doing it right. Okay. Now, did I mention parameter the other time? Yes, params. Okay, but we didn't demonstrate parameter. Okay. So parameter is talking about you trying to locate a specific resource. Okay, so in the process of sending a request, you want some other informations to go along with it. All right, you want to be specific, just like what you are looking at here. This resource is saying that access users only on page 2. Access users only on page 2. So if I want to do page 3, what will I do? I put 3. All right, automatically it's changed it for me. And I can also decide that I'm not putting it here. Look at it. If you decide you're not putting your page here and you put your users here, users, page, let me say 1. It adds to it, right? So that is how parameters work. Okay, that's how parameters work. So it's saying that retrieve users only on page 1, right? Only on page 1. Now look at it very well. Page 1 has George Blot as the first item, right? Let's see if that same name is on page 2. It's changed, right? Okay, let's see page 3. What's there? All right, so this is what we are saying to retrieve. So I've sent you the URL. Try to play around with it, especially all the get put method, post method, and delete. But I'm not sure they will allow you to delete. Even if you delete, it will be temporary because it's not your server right now. So they might not allow you to delete. Okay. So guys, we'll continue from here next week. Thank you so much for joining today. Any more questions? Oh, concerning the project, let me go back to the project page. Concerning the project, we have a little bit of a problem with the server where we hosted this application. Okay, so but I promise you it's going to be all play test tomorrow so that you can start working. I will send this document to the group page. Send this document to the group page, and then you can start working. So looking at this project now, you can see that it's a little bit more familiar now. Now that we have touched on what APIs are, we've talked about UI testing yesterday, which of course should be simple now. Perform UI testing on this application. I like the bugs, defect, failure in the application. That is fine. Okay, now the second one is test the APIs using the following endpoints. Now, so you run your test by, so when you say slash something, it means that you go to the base URL first, and then you do what? You access this interface from the base URL. When you're saying from, that means you put it right in front of it now. Okay, so you also do what? You do that or for everything. Now I've highlighted the methods you will use which make it more simpler, right? So when you go to this resource, use a get. When you go to this resource, use a post. That's what it means. And then the description is saying, okay, this thing you are trying to get is in form of indexes, numbers, and all of that. This one you are trying to get here is what? User registration. This one you are trying to get here is what? Login. All right. They are like your test description. Okay. Now, up to this last one here. So when you see something like this, string ID, all right, so we are trying to say that in front of this subject you have to add maybe a subject code, all right, that has an ID. Okay, that start with a string and then has a number alongside with it. So please go through it, somebody mentioned that I did not add them to the group. Please, if you are in class, let me know. I did not add you to this group. Please identify so that I can add you. So this is everything we have, guys, and that is all for this week. Any question? Okay, I think someone is asking a question. Yeah, thank you. Okay, Dari.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
You're welcome.
The introduction,